You check under the bed and make sure there's no Disney executives under there.
Oh, not again.
Yeah, only this time, it wasn't just me. They were taking all my favorite people and replacing them with diverse women complaining about the patriarchy.
Rachel Zegler just got hit with yet another brutal slap, and this time it came from South Park. The iconic animated series, never known for holding back, went full force in roasting Zegler and the entire mess that was Disney's Snow White remake. They created a parody movie within the episode called Woke White: The Reinvention, a direct jab at Disney's attempt to update Snow White with a hypermodern lens.
You think it's perfectly normal that Cartman is suddenly a black woman?
You probably don't like that Indiana Jones got replaced by a female either, huh? You probably have a problem with Black Spider-Man too.
The delivery? Classic South Park. Chaotic, unapologetic, and sharper than ever.
No, make it more lame. That is exactly what they're doing. And that is why we hate the diversity, equity, and inclusion casting and writing in movies.
And at the center of it all is Rachel Zegler, already drowning in bad press, meme culture, and the stench of a box office flop that not even Disney could spin. The parody keeps going. In a twisted reimagining of the original tale, the evil queen offers Snow White not a poisoned apple, but a symbol of modern empowerment.
This is no ordinary apple, my dear. It's a magic wishing apple.
A wishing apple? You offer it to me freely. In place of the patriarchy, you would have a queen! Not white, but diverse, inclusive, and equitable! I will become the leader I know I can be! All shall love me and despair!
Oh, what has she done to you? Fear not, First Love's kiss can break any curse.
South Park didn't just satirize her, they turned her into a cultural meme, a symbol of everything people feel is wrong with Hollywood's current trajectory. Sources close to Zegler say she was absolutely furious when the episode dropped. Not only was she not laughing, she allegedly demanded Comedy Central pull the episode from airing altogether.
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it.
I can also be having the greatest time and simultaneously wishing people would stop sending me death threats.
But the internet had already exploded. TikTok, Twitter, YouTube, clips of the parody spread like wildfire. Memes popped up faster than Disney could delete comments. Reaction videos racked up millions of views overnight. To make matters worse, Rachel continued doing press appearances, where awkward moments only added fuel to the fire.
Like, who has been the most exciting person for you tonight? Oh my God. Besides, but shut, took the words out of my mouth. Besides.
What the hell is even that?
Because right now there's more dwarves on this podcast than there are in the new Snow White movie. And that's probably due to Peter Dinklage.
Yep.
When I was a child, I used to think Snow White was a Japanese lady. She has geisha-like pale skin, black hair, and tends to 7 ugly white men.
Who's the Disney character you identify with most? Mickey, Nemo, Peter Pan, or Dumbo? Dumbo. That's sad, but yeah, like...
Well. How the turntables...
Rachel Zegler didn't just fume quietly behind the scenes after the South Park takedown. According to reports, she called it defamatory, targeted, and dangerously humiliating. But here's where things get even more embarrassing. Instead of the story dying down, her reaction lit the match for round 2. And just when you thought things couldn't get worse, The Simpsons joined the roasting party.
All that walking made me sleepy. This bed's too hard. This bed's too soft. And this bed is just like the first one, also too hard. I guess I'll sleep in the one that's too soft.
Even though The Simpsons is technically a Disney property, that didn't stop them from throwing shade at Zegler's version of Snow White. Their episode features a fake reboot called Snow Woke: The Reimagining, a not-so-subtle jab at Disney's attempt to modernize the iconic fairy tale.
Because a woman shouldn't have to depend on a man. Snow White was brought back to life by a lady doctor.
And she lived happily ever after?
Well, she couldn't indulge in strenuous activities like handball, but otherwise, she was fine.
That's nice.
The satire doesn't stop there. The parody princess is preachy, smug, and seems to despise everything that made the original character beloved.
Whoa! She's beautiful.
Maybe she's been placed under some kind of a curse.
And all that will wake her is the kiss of a handsome...
I'm awake already!
Guess it's you and me again, doorknob.
So Snow White slept and waited for her prince to come, but he never did.
And just like that, Zegler's updated version of the story is turned into a running joke, not just by fans, but by the very studio that hired her. Still, Rachel isn't backing down. Instead of laying low and waiting for the storm to pass, she doubled down, and that may have been her biggest mistake yet.
Excuse me, your curtain. Please allow me to help.
Help? From you?
I didn't mean to offend. I just thought you should know that
That I should know what? That some privileged white guy thinks his opinion matters? Get over your entitlement. I'm not some damsel in distress waiting for you to ride in on your high horse.
It doesn't end there. Now Jack Black is reportedly involved. According to multiple insiders, the Hollywood veteran confronted Zegler directly after her controversial interviews made headlines. The fallout, so intense that Zegler was allegedly pushed straight into therapy. Instead, it's turned into a career catastrophe.
You always want to tell a fun, exciting story, and every time I've ever made a movie, I go into it going, I want this to be the best movie ever made.
Or what?
They're leaning into woke. Hardcore.
They're petrified of some kind of backlash. I wanted my money back. It was very disappointing.
Nobody wants a movie about true love. What kind of woman do we want out there seeking true love, Eliana? The outrage.
Every way that Disney changed the story, it changed it for the worse.
They are pretending like Rachel Zegler is the first of them all when she looks like Lord Farquaad in the film.
The new Disney boss babe, who is Rachel Zegler, the inverse of happy.
So she comes off as an insufferable, whiny brat.
No one on the right side of America can stand the star of this movie.
Jack Black reportedly believes the film's failure wasn't just due to Zegler's off-putting interviews. Sources say he also blamed co-star Gal Gadot, citing lifeless performances from both women, stiff, disconnected, and lacking any real heart.
Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?
Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?
You had one job. Just the one?
Kal-El, no. Max Lord, you're putting yourself and everyone else in grave danger. I need you to give me the stone. What happened to it?
What did you say?
So exciting. Very interested to find the men who brought those.
Why should I help you?
Because we're asking you nicely.
Just tell me what it costs to get her away from me. Name a price. I'll buy the whole damn boat if I have to.
Who are you? The lasso of Hestia compels you to reveal the truth. Now, who are you? But who?
Enough. I said enough.
As Amazons, this is our duty. You have no idea what kind of power you're dealing with.
According to sources close to the production, Jack Black wasn't just frustrated, he was blunt. He felt there was zero on-screen chemistry and that the performances were flat and soulless. And he wasn't the only one speaking out. Joe Rogan and Bill Maher, two men who rarely agree on much, found common ground over one thing. Disney's Snow White remake might be one of the company's biggest flops ever. The first warning signs were subtle but telling. Word started to spread that Disney wanted to reinvent the classic story. The romance, scrapped. The prince, rewritten or possibly removed. And the dwarfs, well, they were replaced with something else entirely.
You know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird. She's not going to be safe with the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love.
Oh my God.
Suddenly, fans who were once excited started wondering, does the lead actress even like the story she's starring in? Then things escalated. Old social media posts began surfacing, posts where Zegler told Trump supporters to go away and never know peace. She wasn't just political, she was aggressive.
So she came out and took a large dump on half of the country, everyone who voted for Trump.
But you are not entitled to call for Trump supporters to be harmed. Like, you are actually not entitled to do that. And so let me just remind you, Rachel Zegler, of what the map looks like, just so you can understand when your Disney movie is coming out, how many people you are wishing harm upon. Like, this is America right now. I will love you through these 4 years as best I can. F Donald Trump. Yeah, totally stable thing for her to be posting, wishing harm upon Trump voters, wishing that we have no peace.
They say all you have to do to make your wish come true is let it echo, 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 echo.
It's awful, generic. Never mind that the lyrics make no sense at all. All you have to do to make your dream come true is let it echo. Is it like on a metaphorical level?
Meanwhile, Bill Maher took aim at the entire concept behind Disney's changes. He found it absurd that the prince was now labeled a stalker, and the dwarfs were removed in the name of progress.
These big bad feminists now are telling us that's ridiculous. How dare you want to meet a handsome prince and be swept off of your feet and live happily ever after? No, you should want to be the prince. You should want to go out and fight the bad guys with a sword.
The original Snow White was a story about love overcoming evil. That theme? Gone. Zegler herself admitted she had no interest in a story about a girl dreaming of a prince.
So no prince or a different kind of prince?
I'm sure a lot of people will assume it's a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnap, great dude. Yep. All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Both Maher and Rogen zeroed in on the same issue. Disney was so focused on virtue signaling that they forgot the golden rule. Audiences don't go to the movies to be lectured. They go to be entertained. And if your lead actress seems openly hostile toward half your potential audience, why would those people buy a ticket to see her?
Because you just can't close your mouth. You just can't be sane, even when you do open your mouth. I think this girl does not deserve a feature-length film, but rather she deserves to be in a padded cell.
And it wasn't just Zegler's attitude. The production choices themselves were disastrous. The seven dwarfs aren't just side characters, they're the soul of the original movie. Each one has a name, a personality, a role in Snow White's journey, but in the remake, gone.
Did the dwarfs make it or no?
Well, the CGI dwarfs did. Of course, that goes back to the original controversy where Peter Dinklage, a very talented little person actor, said, why are we doing that? We've hired a Latina actress to be Snow White. That's progressive. But you're going to hire little people to play the dwarfs? That just seems like a step backwards. And then, of course, Disney instantly buckled and said, okay, we're going to add magical creatures.
Then they got even crazier and they decided that the dwarves in Snow White weren't woke enough, okay?
Disney immediately caved. They scrapped the dwarfs and replaced them with magical creatures. The result? Leaked set photos showed a bizarre collection of tall, short, and unrecognizable figures, like background extras from a cheap fantasy B-movie.
And then they couldn't put dwarfs finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive. You'd think the most progressive thing would be get people jobs, and dwarfs want to work. That many scripts that come down the pike.
No, only 7 of them.
That has, and there's seven dwarf jobs here, but because I think it was Peter Dinklage said this is, this is not right.
What was meant to be a bold reinvention turned into a masterclass in how not to remake a classic. In chasing modern ideals, Disney abandoned timeless storytelling, and audiences responded exactly as you'd expect. Little person actors didn't just feel snubbed, they were furious. For them, the seven dwarfs weren't just iconic characters, they were rare, once-in-a-lifetime roles.
You're replacing jobs that people could have as little people. Okay. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, it's for dwarfs, you know?
These are roles made for actors of my stature. I can't go out for the Harrison Ford or the George Clooney roles because that's not for me.
Right.
And now it's taken away. I don't feel that's right.
The 7 dwarfs of Snow White have, of course, all just disappeared, and now they're the 7 dysfunctional men.
They couldn't have dwarves. Do you guys remember?
Yeah,
that?
because Peter Dinklage and all them were talking crap.
So originally they
you have
took
a picture of what the dwarves were supposed to look like?
I can find it, but it was an array. It was the DEI of dwarves. Yep. Well, they had to reshoot the film and use CGI dwarves. There you go.
So those guys didn't make it.
No.
That guy's 6'2".
And they were like, what? We just want to work. We're dwarves. So, ho, ho, ho.
I mean, I guess, what are we going to have? Like a lesbian, a trans person, someone in a wheelchair, someone of color? Like, I don't understand. Why weren't the dwarfs enough? But apparently they were too offensive because the most famous dwarf of all, Peter Dinklage, said something negative about it back in 2022, thus ruining the biggest acting roles the dwarfs had ever seen since the creation of Willy Wonka's Oompa Loompas back in the 1970s.
Within days of its release, the remake was labeled a certified box office bomb. With a budget that soared over $200 million, including marketing, Disney had banked on a $150 million opening weekend. Instead, it scraped together just $43 million. A catastrophic flop, especially for a remake of one of the most beloved stories in Disney history. Fans who did show up quickly walked out, calling the film antagonistic to the original. Stores saw Snow White themed dolls, costumes, and merch sit untouched. Popcorn buckets piled up, parents and kids steered clear. The message was loud and clear. You can't spit on tradition, insult half the country, and expect box office gold. Online, critics roasted Zegler's now infamous quote.
Who the hell are you to say all of Andrew's could get cut? Like, who are you?
Oh my God.
Are you Disney? I've read your book, and I have. It's a phenomenal book. You're losing generation of loyal viewers. When you think about Snow White, what is the premise? What is the story?
It's a love story. It's a love story.
It's a dream for a girl to grow up and a man falls in love.
I'm really upset that the biggest theme here is that it's anti-men. She called him a stalker.
Behind the scenes, Disney insiders were reportedly in panic mode. Executives hadn't expected Zegler's political comments to explode the way they did.
They've been in a full meltdown about this girl for a couple of years now, and how they had her tweet out like a little, yay, Snow White, can't wait, so excited, I love to play her. And she did it and got like millions of views, and they were like, good job, Rachel. And then she, like minutes later, followed it up with, and never forget, free Palestine. And then they had to hire a special media consultant for her to follow her around all the time and make sure she didn't continue shitting on Snow White.
But even with damage control in place, every new interview just made things worse. Zegler told reporters she was proud to cut out the prince. She claimed the film was more relevant than ever. To many, she came off as wagging her finger at the audience for loving the original. At Disney, execs scrambled. Should they let the film quietly fade in theaters and hope for a streaming rebound? Could they do a sequel and backtrack on the changes? No one had answers. Meanwhile, Zegler faced the ultimate Hollywood nightmare. March 25th, 2025. She gathered a small group of loyal friends, Illa Mason, Jorge Mason, Remy, and Maria Isabel Demison, for what should have been a triumphant moment, watching her movie debut on the big screen. Instead, they walked into a ghost town. They tried salvaging the moment by jumping on a TikTok trend, walking up to the Regal employee and asking for tickets. For
which movie?
Commentators like Joe Rogan and Bill Maher, this wasn't just a flop, it was a warning sign. A cultural canary in the coal mine. Hollywood, in trying to avoid controversy, had created one.
I am walking into Snow White, 2 p.m., now seating. Let's see how empty it is. I hope, it's off the walk we go. I hope. Sound like I hear a couple of people. One, two. Okay. 2.
Meanwhile, directors and producers across Hollywood watched in horror. If Snow White could crash and burn, so could their upcoming remakes. Behind closed doors, some at Disney reportedly braced for layoffs. Years of flops, Lightyear, Strange World, and now Snow White have rocked the company's finances. And investors are angry. After all, this was supposed to be a slam dunk, a timeless classic, a guaranteed win. Instead, it vanished without a trace, leaving behind empty theaters, dusty merch, and one very sobering sobering lesson. If you don't care about your audience, they won't show up. Seth, what do you think? Did South Park and The Simpsons just say what everyone else was afraid to say? Is Rachel Zegler being unfairly targeted, or is this just the fallout of ignoring your audience? Will Disney finally learn from this disaster, or are more woke remakes on the way? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you want more unfiltered breakdowns like this one, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for the latest.